Today I'm teaching you how to start the A320 Neo. I think the FlyByWire Airbus A320 is the best plane to start learning the airliners on, and it's completely free. If you don't have the FlyByWire installer yet, go to the FlyByWireSim.com website and press Installer, and then Download. Once it has installed, open it and set it up. This is what the installer is supposed to look like. Here is the A320 Neo, which we want to download. Just go with the stable version to make sure there is no bugs and press Install. You may have to configure your community folder, but it should find it automatically. Now you can start up the simulator. Search A320 if you don't want to bother scrolling. Just select the FlyByWire Simulations A320 Neo Leap. Spawn into a parking in an airport you want to fly from. I'm departing from Paris Charles de Gaulle. Press Fly. Now you can go to Simbrief. If you haven't watched my tutorial for Simbrief yet, watch it now so you know how to make the flight plan. It is only 3 minutes and come back after. For this plane, you have to select for the aircraft A320N and select the FlyByWire variant. Now I'm just checking that the flight plan looks okay. Generate it. Welcome to the cockpit. The very first thing I always do is turn on the external power if it's available. You can find it right here in the overhead panel. Then turn on both of the batteries. Turn the emergency lights to arm. Then seatbelt lights on. On the left side of the captain's seat, there is this Flypad. Click on the screen to start it up and go to the options. Click third-party options to link up the Simbrief. Now you have to go back to Simbrief to get the Simbrief user ID. Back here in Simbrief, go to the account settings page. On this page, you have to find the pilot ID field. It is displayed right here. Then you're going to go ahead and type that into the Flypad pilot ID field. When that's done, go back to the settings page and then press Realism. I usually put these all to instant because otherwise it's going to take very long. But if you want to be realistic and wait 8 minutes for the adheres and 15 for the boarding, go ahead. Press on the FlyByWire logo to get to your flight page. Here, click Import Flight Plan from Simbrief. Then just check that it's correct. You can see your air pressure here and insert it on the altimeter panel. For me, it's QNH 1019er. Let's go back to the overhead panel. Turn on the crew supply. Then turn on all the fuel pumps which have the white light. Set the 3 adheres to NAV. Now, there should be no white lights in the overhead panel. Now, this is going to be the hard part for some people, so pay close attention. Come down here to the MCDU. It should be on in the menu page. Firstly, press the soft key next to ATSU. Now follow carefully and press the following buttons. AOC menu, then init press, then init data request. Just check the departure and arrivals are okay and click MCDU menu button. Here press FMGC. Once it has loaded, press the INIT button and init request. You can just clear these messages by pressing the CLR button. We're ready to go back to the Flypad. Here, go to the ground page, and then fuel. Press on the cloud to get the fuel data from Simbrief. Click the play button to start refueling. After that, go to Payload. Once again, press the cloud to get the passenger and payload data. Here you can change the boarding time according to your realism preference. I'm going to go with instant. Press the 2 arrows pointing in different directions to start boarding. Back in the MCDU init page, press the arrow to the right or click Fuel Pred. Here in the init Fuel Pred page, there is 2 orange boxes which we have to fill. For the top one, our plane does it automatically just by pressing the soft key right next to it. Note that you have to press it twice. For the block fuel, we have to look a bit up to see the fuel on board. For me, it's 3,000 kilograms, which means we put 3.0 in the block fuel field. This is in tons, so if you had something like 6,400 kilos, you put 6.4. Let's go straight ahead and press the FPLN button, aka Flight Plan. Here you can see your departure and arrival airports and the route between them. Next, we're going to set up the departure by pressing the soft key next to your departure airport and then click Departure. Now pull up a Simbrief flight plan again. Just scroll down to the route window. Here you can see the departure runway and the departure, which for me is runway 09 right, and Opal 5G. Back in the MCDU departures page, we have to select the departure runway, what Simbrief generated. Then using the up and down arrows, scroll up and down to find your departure. Sometimes the departure's number is different, but it shouldn't matter as long as the name and letter after the number are same. Press Insert. Scroll through the flight plan by using the up and down arrows and check for discontinuities. If you see this FPLN discontinuity, press the CLR button and press the soft button left of the discontinuity message. Then we're setting up the arrival. Press on the arrival airport and the arrival button. Again, let's go back to the Simbrief route window. Here we can see that our arrival is Cuno 1G and runway 08 right. Back in the Cockpit MCDU arrival menu, you have to press the arrival runway that Simbrief gave for you. Again, scroll down for the arrival star given in the route window. You don't have to worry about the approach vias, just press no vias and insert. Again, scroll down for discontinuities. Back to Simbrief and look for the field which indicates the initial altitude and keep that number in mind. For me, it indicates 24,000 feet. Go back to the sim. On the autopilot panel, look for the altitude window and scroll the knob for the altitude given by Simbrief. Back to the MCDU. Press the PERF button to go to performance page. Write the number 1 and insert it to the flaps field. Then for the flex to temp field, then go to the Flypad. Right here on the departure whether you can find the temperature for the airport. Insert that temperature in the flex to temp field. Now you can insert the V speeds by pressing next to the orange boxes and clicking the numbers back. Now if you go back to the autopilot panel, these fields should all have a dot after them, and the SPD and HDG fields should have 3 dashes. Let's start up the APU now by going to the overhead panel and press on the APU master switch. Wait 5 seconds, then press the start button right under it. Go to the lower display where you can see the APU stats, and you have to wait for the APU in to 100%. When there reads avail, you can go back to the overhead panel. Here it reads avail, and we can disconnect the external power. Now in Flypad's ground page, click the pushback to set up pushback. If you're in a taxi out stand, you can skip ahead to this point. Turn the pushback system on, click call the tug, and wait for the pushback tug to fully connect. Now that the push is connected, let's go to the overhead panel and turn on the beacon light for engine start. Now look it down right here to set up the flaps and spoilers. Flaps to 1 and spoilers arm by pulling on the lever. Put the PWS switch to auto. Here on the right edge is the transponder, and put the bottom right switch to TA/RA and top left switch to auto. Now, we're ready for engine start and go to the overhead panel. Turn on the APU bleed right here. Let's start pushing back by turning the parking brake off.
Please set parking brakes.
Then press backward and down here. You have to control the speed and direction of the pushback. After that, let's start the engine by going down here and switch in the ignition to start, and then the engine 2 fuel switch to on. Now you can follow the engine parameters from the upper display. Here you can see I'm controlling the speed and direction of the pushback with these sliders. Once the engine 2 N1 says available, or the N1 is over 19%, you can go ahead and start the engine 1. Engine master switch on. Again, let's follow the N1 for the green available sign. Now our engine 1 is available as well. We can turn the ignition back to norm. Then once you're ready with your pushback, press the pause button and turn on the parking brake. Then disconnect the tug and turn pushback system off. Now that our engines have started, you can turn off the APU bleed and then the APU master switch. On the lights panel, turn strobe to auto, nav lights on, and nose light to taxi. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. This took a while to make, and I hope this video helped. If you have anything to ask, don't hesitate to ask it in the comments.